I didn't know you're a Georgia fan.
Oh yeah.
Friends, happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of the ConnectWise Friday Field Report. My name is Vicki Bruns, Principal Product Marketing Manager for the ConnectWise ecosystem, and I am joined by my ever amazing co-host, Will Dowling. How you doing, Will?
Howdy, howdy. I am fantastic today, Vicki. It's finally starting to not be 9,000 degrees, so I can actually get back outside. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And also, if people were tuning in before we actually went live, I was shocked. I just realized you're wearing a Georgia hat.
I am indeed wearing a Georgia hat. Go Dogs.
That breaks my heart as a Florida Gator.
Look, it's okay, Vicki. Not all of us can be perfect.
Yeah, that's okay. I know. Well, as I always say, that you have to be a tried and true fan through the good times and the bad times. And if you haven't caught on yet, folks, this episode today is going to be focused on sports, right? College
Absolutely.
football, professional football. I think most of us went with a football theme. So yeah, we've got some special guests. Yeah.
I'm super excited about our special guests.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun show. We definitely have a lot going on. And before we dig into that, what have you been up to this week, Will? What's happening in your world?
Everything's happening in my world right now. So between the preview for our new PSA that's in ASIO, it's going to be the PSA everyone knows and loves, just powered by the ASIO platform. One of the big things coming with it is a new left nav bar that is about to show up here in the beginning of October. So yeah, hey, there's the screen on it. It's going to be really awesome because it's really going to help standardize and streamline everything as we're moving more solutions into ASIO for everybody. So if you want to find out more, there's the QR code on the screen. Go ahead and click it. It's pretty cool, and it's really going to help to standardize a lot of naming conventions, make it easier for those of you who are in ASIO to continue to use it, make it easier for those of you who are moving to ASIO to start utilizing it. So super cool. I'm excited about it. But there's also so much more that I'm excited about. Like, first and foremost, Accient's Experience Summit is coming up here on 10/3. Like, it's imminent. And, it's free. It's a free event for MSPs. So, like, why wouldn't you go? Early registrations also unlock the opportunity to win prizes, which I'm excited about. Who doesn't love prizes, right?
Yeah. And actually, we're going to have Keith Nelson on, who is in the green room, and he is going to be talking to the MSP Experience Summit that he went to with Accient, I think last night. So we'll get the scoop on what the actual on-site event was like. But there's also, for the virtual summit, there's going to be, I hear, a female hacker that is coming in and doing a demo. And so as a woman in tech, I definitely advocate for other women in cybersecurity, women in tech. So make sure that you show up for that event. It's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. Right. And what's also awesome is we're going to have Bryce Roberts, the VP of Marketing at Accient, on next Field Report to talk about what happened during their event and how awesome it was. So I'm excited for that. Are you excited for that too, Vicki? I hope so.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
go for it.
I was going to say, you sound a little choppy, but I know it's because we're in the field. Yep. We can still hear you just fine, but it sounds, it's always fun when you're in the field doing the Friday Field Report. Are the peacocks around you by any chance? Have you seen them?
I have been trying to lure them. I did see 7 of them this morning. So hopefully with a little bit more effort, I can get the peacocks on the Friday Field Report.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
I would love to see that. And not to throw you off, but so yesterday, I know usually we kind of go through our own personal updates before we kick into the show. So I had Don Juan and Clementine, the mule and the donkey that I'm fostering. They decided to have a little joyride around our neighborhood. And
oh my God.
Oh yeah, I've actually got footage of this, everyone. So if you want to see it, let me know. But they got out. It took us 4 hours to get them corralled back into the fence. But Clementine now has a new boyfriend who is Apollo, and he's the half-blind horse that lives kind of right over here and another pasture. Yeah, so now she's just been pining away and giving him the heart eyes across the fence since yesterday.
I love it.
Yeah, it's always an adventure out here on the farm.
Never a dull moment, right?
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Enough of that. Tell me a little bit about what you guys about on the AI live stream.
Oh yeah, AI live stream was yesterday. If you missed it, go watch it. We talked about prompt engineering, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So, if you're looking to learn more about AI, the Demystifying AI for MSP's live stream is really the place to go. We've got a lot of interesting guests. We had Jim Haney from Novatech on yesterday to talk us through what they're doing as far as, prompt engineering within their company, and really talk a little bit about best practices. And, if you can't get enough AI content, the great Kyle Jackson and I do have a webinar on October 8th that you can register for to talk more about AI and PSA. So definitely register for that. And, love making that AI content. There's just so much.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, Jess, if you could, our producer, if you could drop the webinar link into the chat for everyone to access, that would be great, because my updates centered around webinars that are coming up as well. And we have Jim Peterson. If you don't know Jim Peterson, he does a lot of partner-facing events for our partners and clients out in the community. So thank you, Jim, for that. He's always traveling out there with our amazing Natalie Suarez, and he is going to be doing an upcoming webinar with Axient. And we also have another webinar coming up in October that is featuring Matt Topper as our moderator. So Matt is our one of our cybersecurity evangelists, and he is going to have a couple of our amazing Invent certified integrator partners. And it's kind of an interesting theme. It's called the Night Watchman. And these are cybersecurity vendors, if that kind of gives you an idea of what they're going to be talking about. And it's all about strengthening MSP defense capabilities while you sleep. So we're going to be joined by the amazing Infema InfoSec, so Larry Meter, Carolis, who's the head of product over at NordPass, and then Lisa Bryant, who is the chief revenue officer for our pen testing Invent vendor that we work with called Cypher. And so make sure that you tune into that. And we also have, I was talking about women in tech earlier. We have a new episode that just dropped on the IT Nation Wise Up podcast with Matt Topper and I, with MJ Patton, who is the chief marketing officer for Logically. And she talks about what it takes to build and have a successful end client event. They have a massive conference that's an end client conference that's coming up in October. And so you won't want to miss that. If you're an MSP tuning in and you want to hear about best practices on how to build your own amazing event, make sure that you listen to that episode. She drops some really great nuggets in there. Okay.
So exciting.
Woo, I know. And I'm out of breath right now. I feel like there's so much more that we got to get through. So who do we have in the green room right now?
Let's see. Who do we have?
Peter Kajawa, maybe? Let's bring him out. Let's bring him out.
Maybe.
Hey.
Hey, Peter.
Hey,
how are you?
Hello. How are you?
Good. What is this field that you are in? Is this your front yard?
That's my backyard. And I'm not actually in it, I'll confess, which is probably obvious with the green blending into the green. But I did take the picture like 10 minutes ago. So it's actually, it's as close to a field shot as we're going to be able to get.
Okay.
It's a beautiful day here.
It does look really beautiful. Do you mow your grass? Because I would say like you've got some really tight lines on that lawn, Peter.
Sure, Vicki, we'll run with that. I mow it.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that later, Peter. But give us the scoop. What's going on besides being a Green Bay Packers fan, which we know that you love?
Got my Reggie White jersey on. Favorite player ever. What's going on? Lots. It's normally summer is kind of a downtime of the year historically for service leadership. It's a chance to catch our breath a little bit, get ready for the busy fall season, and and IT Nation and content and all of that stuff coming up, but it has not been a down couple of months. It's been amazing. We came out with our annual profitability report in June, and that was fascinating. There was a lot of really interesting information in there. That report turned out to be about 350 pages and analyzed a bunch of trends in the industry, including hyper automation. And then we went from that straight into in July and August, a lot of peer groups. So I really blessed. I had the pleasure in over the past 30 days. I've been at Evolve in Denver, meeting with partners there. Been at Evolve in Australia and IT Nation in Australia, and been at Evolve in Dublin last week. And so, by the way, as a recommendation, I would not recommend flying to Australia and the following week flying to Europe if you're based in the US. You end up not sure what planet you're on from a time zone perspective. But
I was going to say, like, maybe are they starting to ask you when you're going through customs, like, are you a spy? You know, what are you? Why are you traveling so much?
Peter Kujala,
International. What are you here for?
Leadership, service leadership. No, it's been great. It's been really, really fun. And we have a lot of interesting new looks at some trends going on in the industry that have generated a lot of buzz. Was at the MSP 501 event in Atlanta this week, and was able to present there, talk about some of what's going on in the industry, and the partner response to it has been great. Strategically, one of the things we've tried to do over the past couple of years is generate more regional specific data. So when we're in Australia, we're talking about trends overall, but we're also talking about trends in Australia, New Zealand. And when I'm in Dublin, I'm able to talk about trends that are Europe specific, in addition to what's going on overall that we see hitting them soon. So that's been great, really well received, and it's been just a lot of fun being out with hundreds and hundreds of partners over the past month.
Yeah. So tell us, give us your take, like, what, from a trend perspective, what are some of the things that really stick out to you at the moment?
The short version of that is revenue is trending down, profitability is trending up. And so what we're seeing in our data is organic growth peaked around mid to late 2022 and started to come back down about a year ago, about 4 to 6 quarters ago. And so we're definitely seeing organic growth, revenue coming back down to historic norms. It was up over 20% for several quarters on a most recent 4-quarter basis, trending basis. And now we're seeing it back down last quarter. Most recent 4 quarters over most recent 4 quarters was 10.8% growth, organic growth in managed services. And so at first blush, that's a little bit panic inducing. You know, we went from over 20% down to 10.8. But the message that we have for MSPs is don't panic. Historically, revenue grew in the neighborhood of 10 to 14%, going way, way back. We had some unusual things that kicked in because of COVID. One of those was a lot of new logo growth, certainly. A lot of companies that were hybrid or fully remote that needed help that didn't outsource before. So, you know, it was a great growth opportunity from that perspective. But the other thing that really factored into a lot of that revenue growth was massive inflation, and wage inflation hitting at 8, 10, 12% required a lot of price increases. And so MSPs were turning around and doing price increases to their customers, which they had to. Really important for not only just for profitability, but for survival as a business at that point. So they were doing that, and that's great. But the negative of that really sexy revenue growth was that if a lot of it's fueled by wage inflation negatively impacts the MSP well before the benefit of a price increase helps them. In other words, if I have an engineer that I need to give a 10% increase to this Friday, and I have the customers they're working on have annual renewals built into their contract, well, I'm going to be paying that higher wage starting next week.
Right.
But I might not be getting the higher return on that contract for 6 months or some period of time.
Yeah.
So the flip side of this is that revenue growth is back to historical norms, we think, and gross margin is improving because wage inflation has come way down. And so as long as we're back to growing the old-fashioned way and adding new customers and making sure that the pricing is where it needs to be for managed service and labor rates, and that you're charging for things you should be charging for, you should actually make more money now than you were making 2 years ago or so.
So it's getting back to the basics. And what do you think that how do you think that the Fed rate cuts will factor into this?
It'll probably have a positive effect. I learned long ago, one of my favorite macroeconomics teachers taught, and I've seen this to be the case over the 30 years since learning this, is that rate cuts and rate increases, regardless, take somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 18 months to fully impact the economy. Okay. And so if we're the cuts that we're seeing now, I think some of that was baked in and some of it will feel over the next 12 months or so. The one other interesting thing that we ran some data on, we were asked about 6 weeks ago, do we have any data on the impact of the US presidential election year on MSP growth? And at first I thought, are you crazy? That's not going to impact it. And no, we don't have data on it. So, but then we thought, that's kind of interesting. Let's run it and take a look at what it is. And I posted this on my LinkedIn about a month ago. What it showed is that in the last 3 presidential election years, revenue growth has decreased somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5% to 11.5%. And it's done it each of the last 3 elections, and it's going to do it again this year. We think this year revenue growth will decrease over last year somewhere in the neighborhood of 8% or so, 7, 8, 9%. So we're going to have 4 straight U.S. presidential election cycles that will show a drop in revenue growth in the year of the election. And with the rate cut and with the election being over next year, we should see a good year next year. And the positive thing is, after each of those down years of presidential elections, the following year was really good. So, yeah. So, we'll see if it repeats, but certainly have reason to be optimistic.
Well, that's always appreciate you coming in and giving us a look into the crystal ball of, what could potentially be based on, historical statistics. So
100%.
Peter, before we let you go, my friend, is there anything else that you have for us today? This is your moment.
Go Pack.
Who are they playing this weekend? Who are they playing?
Tennessee.
Okay.
1-1. Actually, the most exciting thing right now in Wisconsin sports is definitely the Brewers. The Brewers, who have one of the lowest payrolls in Major League Baseball, have clinched a playoff berth by taking the division 2 nights ago. So
I love it.
Really exciting. I mean, our total payroll for the Brewers, the Dodgers have one player, Ohtani, who makes almost as much as the entire payroll of the Brewers. So all right, it's a David versus Goliath. So
I love it.
We always love an underdog story. Well, Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. We always appreciate you coming on. And I can't say go back, but
yeah. Thanks for joining us today, Peter.
Yep. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great one. All right. So we have not one, but 2 surprise guests next. So let's go ahead and bring out the great and wonderful Keith Nelson and surprise guest, Zach Kromkowski.
What a great introduction. Thank you.
So welcome, both of you. Zach is joining us today as a surprise guest. So Zach, how's it going, man?
Dude, absolutely fabulous. When I got out to Hoover Tower, I was pretty thrilled to be on the field day. This is my normal work environment, so it just worked out.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. So you're a finalist in Pitch It, right?
I am. I've been actually working pretty heavily with Jason and the Invent team to get the integration moving and hopefully have some fun screenshots, prototypes, something to announce at Pitch It. So really excited.
Excellent, man. We're super thrilled to hear that. So
Yeah,
what's been your favorite part so far?
I mean, it's really just all the networking. I mean, I've gotten to speak on other podcasts and stuff just from people who probably never knew me 16 weeks ago. So the exposure is just fun. And having some of my partners email me is like, how did you get on that show? And I'm like, well, I don't exactly know, but we can say some exposure help through Pitch It probably played a role.
Love it, man. Love it. And, with that, it's, I feel like we should, apologize to Keith for you having to deal with his wayward son, Sean, all the time. So Zach, we're thrilled for you. Glad you're having a great time with Pitch It. And, Keith, even though you are, Sean's dad, and we have to, deal with your wayward son all the time here at ConnectWise. How's everything going with you, man? Can you tell us where you're joining us from today?
So this is Sean, where Sean grew up, our backyard here in the ghetto. And everything's going great. We've been asked to replace some systems on some ports that we didn't do business with before. So that's that. I was thinking I'm so old I should retire, but I have to do a couple more installations coming up soon. Business has been awesome. Yeah.
That's fantastic, Keith. So you're a pillar of the MSP community. Can you kind of just give us a quick rundown about some of your experience?
So we're best known for automating the Long Beach, LA ports, which is they're kind of busy. I think it's like 78% of the import-export business throughout the country. We've been doing that for just past 25 years, and we're proud to say in 25 years of 3 dispatches a day, 365 days a year, we've never had a system failure. We've never had loss of data. We've never missed a dispatch.
Amazing.
And so,
that's awesome.
Which goes to our philosophy in business. We just had someone talk about all the sophisticated stuff that I don't understand. Our philosophy is simple. In a world of Kmart's, why not be Nordstrom's? And so, and the other thing we say, make sure you charge enough to do the job right. Because it's not about technology, it's about experience, and it's about enhancing business outcomes. And once we realize that as MSPs, this whole talk about license cost is minimal. You're going like, what it really is how can we enhance our customers' experience and make sure that we're focusing on business outcomes, not not tickets, not things that like that.
Absolutely, and I think that's super important, Keith. Like it's really, if you provide an amazing experience, that's really the best thing you can ever do for your customers is make their customers' experience even better. So last week we were talking about the go-giver mentality on the field report, and we immediately thought of you. It really means like giving back to the community. So we know you do a ton of outreach.
Oh, Will just froze.
What? Did I freeze? Am I back?
No, I see him.
You're back.
Am I here? I'm back. Ha-ha.
It's all good.
I'm back. Gotta love the field report. Never a dull moment. So, Keith, can you kind of talk to us a little bit about all of the outreach you're doing and what really drives you to continually give back, man?
Well, first of all, and I said this many times, when I was asked to do TED Talks, I always end with the same line. Often when you seek to inspire, you're inspired. And that means a lot to me. I think that we talk about, and I don't want to get political, but we talk about a lot of things like diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I think people say that without really knowing what that means. Inclusion means including everyone everywhere possible with just reasonable accommodations. Last year you did the canine thing at one of the ConnectWise events, and you go, that dog is just a reasonable accommodation, so those people can be included in our everyday life. It's really not about a special program over there for them. It's about them being included in everything possible in society, because our basic human right is dignity and respect. And so my journey on community giving is long and it's boring, and but I was raised from an early age without parents. I raised my younger brother and sister, so I kind of know what it's like to be in a foster youth situation, except we weren't smart enough to get help. I kind of paid the bills and did it that way. But and then I have a son that's special needs that motivated to get involved with Special Olympics. And it just all kind of grew from that. It was nothing ever planned. From Special Olympics, they asked me to take over the regional center. And then we had the terrorist attack there. And then I managed through a couple of school shootings. Then they asked me to be on SELPAs. And so I don't know how it happens. I guess I just don't know how to say no. And right now we're focusing on aged foster youth. And we like to take a part of our profits and buy homes in the area. And then each home houses 4 aged out foster youth. We try and mentor them, and we try and get them to get education. And we like to, and this isn't my phrase, this is Bishop Ed, who I don't even know how he found me. He asked me to speak to youth in Compton one time. But anyway, he calls it the forever family, so that it's not a temporary, a stopgap, which seems to be our social safety net, which I agree we should have. I'm a big supporter of that. But I don't think it's just a catch. I think it has to be a long term where you're saying, I'm going to mentor you and you're going to mentor someone else. When I was coaching Special Olympics, we had a really good basketball team. It was really motivating. But one of the goals for them was, I coached you. Now you have to coach all the new athletes. And our goal was not to win. We went 15 years undefeated. Our goal was to teach the new kids that came into our program how to play. And our goal was our first team being able to exit the game by halftime and help mentor the second and third team and still win and be productive. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask a question? So
please do.
Keith, you have we were just chatting off screen that you could probably write an entire novel on all of your experiences of giving back to the community at large. But if you're somebody that maybe is trying to find a way to just get started, what are your words of advice on how to do that?
I teach my son Ryan, who's my good son. He's special needs, and so he just buys a case of water, and we go around and give water to homeless people. We buy, a bag of tacos at Del Taco. Sorry, I'm doing commercials, but what is that? $3, and you just hand them out, and it's just like, it's really not getting big. It's just single touches, and it's really about encouragement and empowerment. We had a foster youth who was one of my youngest daughter's dance partner at one point, and he was an aged out foster youth. So his aunt said, "I'm kicking him out. He's 18. I don't get any more money." And it was his last year of high school, and he had historically been a C student. And so I said, we'll take him because, he needs just a hand up. I took him to the local high school. I put him in all honors classes and challenged him, and he graduated with honors. He's at University of in San Bernardino, teaching learning cybersecurity. And when that occurred, his aunt called and said, "Hey, Mr. Caltech, would you do all his homework?" And I said, "No." I said, I wouldn't know how to do his homework. I said, "I did one thing different than you. You told him he was stupid his whole life, so he was. I told him he was smart, so now he is." I said, everything else he did on his own.
Yeah.
And so it's really about empowering people and understanding that everyone just deserves that dignity and respect. And once you give it to them, you see people blossom to such I sit there and I'm said, people go, "Well, you got to take a team to tour a team with Team USA and go around the world during demos." I go, I was riding their coattails, man. I was the lucky one. It was because they were so awesome. I got to tour the world and go do speaking engagements. I go, no one wanted to hear me speak. They wanted to hear what they did.
Yeah.
Keith, your personal stories are always empowering in everything you do, but also talking about what you do for the vendor space, right? Myself, Sension, and Threat Captain, and the many other pitch it companies and just early stage companies, you've been a huge influence and mentor to making sure we're doing the right things, right? I met you for the first time in person at ChannelCon. I knew maybe a handful of vendors there, but you walked me around the floor, showed me the importance of knowing people, and just we're a friend, right? So kudos to everything you do on the personal side, but also on just the tech professional side. You're the coattails we want to ride in this world, man.
Oh, thank you. I just don't think, we were talking about this yesterday at the Axion event, and people are going, I don't like this thing where you stand at a bar waiting for a vendor to buy you a drink or buy you dinner. I go, we're partners and we're building business together. And what I get out of those shows and events, I don't need all the extra stuff, even though it's fun. I go, I get to meet your technical people because we're always going to have problems. But when we have relationships, now I know you can help me navigate through something as big as a ConnectWise, right? You're going,
yep.
And once I get the right resources, all the problems are solved. And so when you start dealing things, and that's the same thing back to your dignity and respect, if we pay respect to our vendors, they'll pay it back to us. And so you're going like, we're in this together. And so, if I could find great products and things like Zach who's building, you're going like, hey, he's going to help my business grow. I can help his business grow. And we all make out pretty well.
We all win.
Love that.
Getting a partnership like that is unmatched, because I know Keith is a vocal advocate for any partner that he truly supports and whatnot. We'll do the video testimonials, we'll do the outreach. So absolutely, Keith. I mean, any MSP learning from you, us learning from you, just that mutual respect and that encouragement all the way around pays back.
You won't believe how many conversations I have where people tell me, your business model is really weird. I don't think it'll work. And
it's working.
Yeah.
You stand back and say, hold my beer.
You say, watch it work. Yeah. So, Zach, Keith, I'm so thrilled you guys could join us and we could have this conversation today. This is really the kind of stuff that needs to be talked about more in the industry. Like, it's really, like you said, it's about respect. It's about giving back. And I'm glad we could dig more into that. I would love to continue to do that in the future, in future episodes if we can. For now, we are out of time for today, but I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. And guys, we'll be back on the Friday Field Report on Friday, October the 4th. So we'll see you then. And until then, don't forget, touch some dirt. Have a great one, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.